the Tiki culture and the American culture really intermeshed in the 1950s for a couple of reasons, and one of them had to do with the fact that there's so many people coming back from World War II who had been stationed in that area and had actually had some more or less direct experience with the culture.
Some of the fiercest fighting of World War II was centered in the South Pacific, but for many of the young Americans stationed on such exotic islands as Bora Bora and Oahu, the Polynesian lifestyle, and especially the Polynesian women, helped make the bloodshed bearable. One such American was James Michener, a naval officer who immortalized his wartime experiences in Tales of the South Pacific.
It is easy to see how people could be so drawn to the South Pacific. I mean, what's not to love? The South Pacific is located in the Pacific Ocean, the largest of the Earth's oceanic divisions. It extends from the Arctic Ocean in the north to the Southern Ocean in the south, and is bounded by Asia and Australia in the west and the Americas in the east. Here you will find some of the dreamiest postcard-ready places on Earth. It is home to the islands including Tahiti, Bora Bora, Hawaii, Santa Cruz, the Cook Islands, and Fiji. These places offer visitors culture, diving, surfing, hiking, beaches, food, wind sports, whale watching, kayaking, volcanoes, and most importantly, peace and quiet. When it comes to the indigenous people of the Pacific Islands, also known as Pacific Islanders, and their culture, they tend to live a very social lifestyle in which family members, both immediate and extended, work together in a solidified community. Pacific Islanders often have difficulty balancing their traditional laid-back lifestyles with the high-pressure, competitive demands of American teaching and marketplace economy. Pacific Islander cultures follow customs and traditions based on ancient principles that promote living an honorable and noble lifestyle. Embedded deeply into the Polynesian culture are traditional music, dance, and food. Cultural storytelling, music, and dance are ancient ways of passing down history from one generation to another. Of course, we cannot talk about culture without mentioning food. As can only be expected, seafood is a staple ingredient and is often marinated with lemon or lime juice, cooked with coconut, lime, and chili. Exotica is a musical genre named after the 1957 Martin Denny album of the same title. Popular during the 1950s through the mid-1960s, typically with suburban Americans who came of age during World War II. Exotica is a form of easy listening lounge music that draws upon world music, but it doesn't aim for authentic replication. Instead, Exotica's primary concern is lightweight entertainment, gathering readily identifiable ethnic sounds into a smooth, easily digestible pop form as a way to recreate paradise in one's own backyard. The typical music conjures up images of exotic foreign tourist destinations like those of the South Pacific. Exotica is usually arranged for standard orchestras with instrumentation added according to the location being evoked. Some Exotica also borrows the weird, otherworldly sound effects that define the space-age pop style. Even in its 50s and 60s heyday, Exotica was often derided as cheesy and contrived. The Pacific, the Caribbean, Latin America, Brazil, and Africa are among Exotica's most popular regional musical sources. Martin Denny, also known as the godfather of Exotica, studied classical piano as a child in New York City. He began working professionally at a young age and spent 4 years touring South America with the Don Dean Orchestra before serving in the Air Force in World War II. Afterward, he attended the Los Angeles Conservatory and studied composition. He worked at various clubs and bars and eventually ended up in Hawaii. Denny came across the trademark of his recording, animal noises, in the background, quite by accident while performing at the Shell Bar. As Denny related with an interview, he says, "The Hawaiian village was a beautiful open-air tropical setting. There was a pond with some very large bullfrogs right next to the bandstand. One night we were playing a certain song and I can hear the frogs going, ribbit, ribbit, ribbit. When we stopped playing, the frog stopped croaking. I thought, is that a coincidence? So a little while later, I said, let's repeat that tune, and sure enough, the frog started croaking again. And as a gag, some of the guys started spontaneously doing bird calls. Afterwards, we had a good laugh. Hey, that was fun. But the following day, one of the guests came up and said, Mr. Denny, you know that song you did with the birds and the frogs? Can you do that again? I said. What are you talking about? Then it dawned on him that they thought it was part of the arrangement. As attention in the rest of the U.S. began to turn to Hawaii as it neared its induction as the 50th state in 1959, Liberty brought Denny back into the studio to re-record Exotica in stereo. This time, the record found a receptive audience and became a huge favorite amongst sophisticated listeners. Quiet Village was released as a single and reached number 4 on the Billboard Pop 40 pop chart. Another champion of Exotica music is Ima Sumac. She was known as the Queen of Exotica. She became an international success based on her extreme vocal range, which was said to be well over 5 octaves. Most singers can only cover 2. She's the only singer known to possess close to a staggering 5-octave voice. While less than a handful of singers have managed to capture her high notes, none have managed to acquire those notes, including her lowest registers. And more amazing is that she had no formal training. It is even said that she is unable to read musical notes. In this next clip, watch YouTube sensation Luciano Rosso doing an over-the-top lip sync of Uma's Mambo song. This view on YouTube has over 2 million views and is bringing a lot of attention to the song. And so check it out. pop culture flourished when Hawaii was annexed to the United States. Hawaii and Polynesian were already firmly embedded in Americans' minds as locations for leisure and symbolized a break from a society that was built on conformity and discipline. Rather than just being confined to bars, restaurants, and bowling alley, the tiki culture in America manifested as a style of decor in fashionable homes, including the preference for primitive art in elegant interiors, including residence and office buildings. The tiki pop culture influence became apparent in its use in the decor of bowling alleys, apartment buildings, and motels. A design movement known as Tiki Modern was very fashionable in the 1960s as a combination of Polynesian themes executed with clean, modern lines. It blended well with the atomic age design aesthetic that was so popular at the time. The Tiki craze came to its climax in the mid 1960s, and by the time of the Vietnam War came crashing to an end. What was once considered stylish and trendy was now considered tacky by a younger crowd that rejected the values and tastes of their parents' generation. Tiki bars began to close in droves, and the popularity of things tiki declined into the late 1970s. Although many believe that tiki has been all forgotten for a few decades, it never lost its popularity in San Diego. And in pop culture, television shows like Magnum PI, which was released in the 1980 and 1988, and even SpongeBob SquarePants, which was released in 1999 to the present. It's even also viewable in destinations like Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room, which is in Orlando Park location. They also have a Polynesian adventure theme resort also. It's probably not a coincidence that the original tiki movement started by Don Beach occurred during the Great Depression, and that the more recent tiki revivals that we have been seeing began during the economic downturn of 2008 to 2009, referred by some as the Great Recession. Reality can sometimes become difficult to face, creating a need to escape in a fantasy world like the one a tiki bar provides. It's nice to relax and enjoy friends and family with food and good drinks, music, and a tropical ambiance, even if it is only for a little while. In 2009, Smuggler's Cove in San Francisco, California, opened its doors and it has established itself as one of the top rum and exotic cocktail destinations. They offer a stunning interior featuring vintage tiki artifacts, but beyond the novelty of sipping tropical drinks, garnished with flower and pineapple wedges in a ceramic mug that grins back at you, like many tiki meccas, Smuggler's Cove is a bar that temporarily takes people away from reality. This yet again proves that what goes around comes back around eventually. And right now, Tiki is here and it's in the mainstream, and it seems like it may be here to stay.